Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. When people hear the term trauma bond, they often think of toxic relationships, but they don't always understand the spiritual and psychological depth of what's really happening. Trauma bonds are not just emotional attachments, they are soul-level chains formed in the fire of manipulation, control, and repeated cycles of abuse and comfort. Let's start with what a trauma bond really is. A trauma bond is a deep emotional attachment to someone who is causing you harm. It's formed through a cycle of abuse, followed by intermittent kindness, which creates confusion, dependency, and a desperate desire for connection, even with someone who's hurting you. The very person causing the pain becomes the one you crave relief from. That's why it's so disorienting. You find yourself saying things like, maybe this time it'll be different. They didn't mean it. I just want the version of them that showed me love. Maybe I overreacted. And that's the bait. The cycle keeps you in bondage, waiting for breadcrumbs of affection. How are trauma bonds formed? There's usually a pattern. At first, the relationship starts with intensity, love bombing, attention, affection, grand promises. It feels magical, intoxicating, even divine. But then the shift happens over time. The same person who lifted you up begins to tear you down. And here's the trap. Every time they hurt you, they follow it up with comfort. They create the wound and then offer themselves as the healer. This creates chemical confusion in your brain. Hormones like dopamine, cortisol, and oxytocin begin to fuel the bond. You become biologically and emotionally addicted to the cycle. It's just like addiction to a drug. You crave the high and try to survive the low, and your body learns to normalize chaos. But there's another layer, and this is the one I need people to understand. Trauma bonds are spiritual. They are soul ties, not just psychological patterns. When sex is involved, the bond becomes even stronger. But even without sex, prolonged emotional entanglement, especially in a manipulative relationship, forms invisible cords that tie your will, your emotions, and sometimes your destiny to that person. You find yourself unable to move forward. You miss them, even though they were toxic. You feel pain and peace simultaneously. You try to leave, but something keeps pulling you back. That's not just nostalgia. That's a bond, a spiritual assault that the enemy uses to keep you circling the same mountain. You don't know exactly what you're dealing with because you assume this person thinks and rationalizes normally. Narcissists don't. Why are trauma bonds so hard to break? Because they aren't just emotional, they're demonic footholds, and the longer you stay in them, the more your identity erodes. You start doubting yourself, you silence your intuition, you dismiss your pain, you justify their mistreatment. In some instances, you begin to believe you deserve it. This is what makes trauma bonds so dangerous. They blur the lines between love and abuse, so you stop recognizing abuse altogether. You become desensitized to dysfunction. You call it normal. You confuse it with passion. And worst of all, you attach your hope to their potential instead of their reality. I can recall many times during my relationships with narcissists, I felt like I was splitting, fragmenting. One part of me knew this is wrong, another part of me wanted to stand up for myself, another part of me just wanted to keep the peace, and another part of me is questioning myself, thinking maybe I am the problem. All of these thoughts at the same time. It stresses you out mentally and physically, but you can't leave. And the enemy loves it, because as long as you're tied to someone who is draining your purpose, you can't walk fully in your calling. So how do you break free? 1. Face the truth. No healing begins in denial. You must call it what it is. Toxic, manipulative, abusive. Even if they had good moments, even if you love them. Love is not a license to stay bound. 2. Break the soul tie through prayer, fasting, and declaration. This is spiritual warfare. Trauma bonds don't dissolve with time. They must be severed. It will not get better in time. Speak aloud. I break every ungodly soul. Tie to, speak their name. I sever every chain of manipulation, deception, emotional control, and confusion in Jesus Christ's name. 3. Remove access. Don't try to heal with the person who broke you. You can't. You have to separate yourself from them. This is also essential if they want to change. They will need time alone with God to seek deliverance. Either way, you will need to be away from the narcissist for your own healing. They will often try to suck you back in once you leave. Block them. Change your number if needed. Their voice cannot echo during your deliverance and healing. 4. Replace the bond. You must learn to bond with God, not trauma. That's what I had to do. I depended solely on God. Let Him stabilize you so that chaos no longer feels like home. Let Him rewire your definition of love. Here's what I know. You're not weak for being trauma bonded. You're not crazy. You're not stupid. You're not damaged beyond repair. You're just wounded, and wounds crave comfort, even if it comes from the wrong source. But God is a better comforter. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't gaslight. He doesn't disappear when you need Him most. If you're trauma bonded, I want you to know this. Freedom is real, but it won't come from willpower alone. It will take truth, deliverance, and supernatural healing, and you don't have to do it alone. You're dealing with something spiritually toxic, so it's going to take spiritual healing to break free from it. It won't be easy. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it will be. You have to break free because you deserve to be loved and treated with the love and respect you give. You won't get it from a narcissist. They don't know how to love. This is also how they can be so cold and cruel. They lack empathy. They can pretend to care because they understand they have to get what they want. You don't have to remain in toxicity. Okay, guys, thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now.